You know, lately my life feels like it's been written by Lemony Snicket. Like a top 40s station, the hits just keep on coming. Have I been through worse? Sure. Could it be any worse? Hold on, Skipper. Let's not tempt the fates. They are temperamental. Fair enough. So like the army, I keep rolling along. Indeed. 2 flat tires, a broken axle, and a major oil leak. Anyway, in order to feel better about this bullshit, sit back and let me tell you a story of one of the more trying times I've had in my life. Good evening, shipmates and shitbirds, slackers and overachievers. Welcome to episode 34 of Before the Mast, a show where we drink and reminisce about the shitty times we've been through, in order to put the shitty present in perspective. Let's hit up the Laka Laka Lounge to see what we got in the Laka Laka Liquor Locker. Hello. Getting a little light there. Today's episode is all about making do with what you got. Poor sap. I look like I need a drink. Let me help myself out. Here you go, Scooter. Try this. Thanks. What is this? Well, I'm glad you asked. Today's drink is one that I made myself. I like to call it the Bleedin Asshole. It was born out of the realization that it didn't have any of the mixers that one needs for rum, such as orange juice or pineapple juice. It's a sister cocktail to my other drink, the Desperate Asshole, but I realized I was out of coconut cream. So now it's been changed again. It's been changed to 1.5 ounces of dark rum, 1 ounce of coconut rum, 1 ounce of lime juice, 1.5 ounces of guava nectar, because that's the only juice I could find, 1/2 ounce of simple syrup or demerara syrup if you can get it, and then just a dash of grenadine. That recipe will be down in the description. By the way, before you go any further, hit like and subscribe. It helps me out. Help me help you to have quality content. Cheers, asshole. So, sit your ass back and let me tell you all about a hell day I had in the last century. Let's rewind to July 24th, 1998. How do I know the exact day? Because that's the day Saving Private Ryan came out. And the next day, the 25th, we were due to get underway for some exercise of some kind. Saturday underway. Well, that's the USS Peleliu for you. I was a quartermaster 3rd class at the time, and our division chief wanted to knock us off early, before noon, but first he had a job for me. He wanted me to go outside the pilot house on a narrow catwalk 40 feet above the deck and clean the windows. In those days, there was no railing around the catwalk. You had to wear a harness. I say in those days because you'll find out. So I donned my harness, grabbed the Windex and my trusty squeegee, climbed over the bridge wing and onto the catwalk. Everything was fine. Now this was a nice San Diego day. 80 degrees, puffy clouds, no wind. Now when washing windows, you had to pull out the windshield wipers from the window. And they stuck straight out about like that. A little bit of a downward angle so the tips are conveniently at eye level if you're 6 foot tall. Pay attention. That's important. So I pulled out the wipers, lifted the bottle of Windex, and I swear as soon as I pulled that trigger and the Windex began evacuating the bottle, the wind picked up, blew it right in my eyes. Well, I grimaced and probably said some choice words. Something like, motherfucker. Probably something like that. So I bend over and I set the bottle down. Still blind from vinegar and whatever the shit that blue stuff is that they put in Windex to make it blue. It's burning my eyeballs, whatever it is. Well, as soon as I stood up, blinded by generic Windex, I didn't see where I was. And the windshield wiper caught me right in the face, knocked me backwards. And I remember everything kind of slowed down. My stomach was in my throat. And everything started spinning. Well, that's because the harness tagline was wrapped around my waist. So I barrel rolled all the way to the bitter end like some sort of Cirque du Soleil ribbon dancer. Probably less graceful though. Well, I remember finally hitting the bitter end of that harness. Who could forget? Now my nuts were in my throat. But people never tell you about safety harnesses, is they're built to save your life, not save you from pain. So when that harness catches, it's going to do one of two things. Well, if you're lucky, you'll be going straight face down, like a skydiver. That way you only get the wind knocked out of you, maybe a broken rib or two, because your chest is compressed against the shock of the harness. And if you're unlucky, if you either go at an angle or feet down, all your weight is concentrated on two straps. And if you're a guy, those straps are hugging your cojones. I'll let you guess which way I went down. My desire to throw up was quickly forgotten as I started to see out of my squeaky clean eyeballs. See, I fell off the pilot house here, and I was left dangling here. That's the flag bridge. It's where the amphibious group Commodore does all his planning and machinations. Well, it just so happened that the captain and the Commodore were at a table And they looked up, and I'll never forget the look on their faces. Well, I didn't want to have to deal with that. So I climbed back up the tagline, gym rope style. And there on the bridge was QM2 Kellogg and QM2 Reese. Kellogg says, "Burks, did you fall?" Well, I nodded shakily. So I quickly finished the rest of the windows. Wow. Quickly but carefully. I didn't want to test that harness twice. You get another one, sweetheart? Service around here is rough. Thanks. Forgot the you know what, it's okay. Well, I jumped onto the port bridge wing. On the back of this thing, this harness, is this big D-ring made out of, I don't know, some kind of metal. Aluminum, steel, some sort of alloy, I don't know. Well, it ricocheted off the railing of the bridge wing and careened right into the base of my dome. My friends were laughing even harder now. I stumbled into the pilot house just as the chief walked through the door saying he wanted to knock us off work. But he stops and looks at the windows. And he says to me, he says, "You missed a spot in the middle window." Well, blow me the fuck down. It's the same window that knocked me over the side. Apparently, I forgot to clean it when I got back up. Well, lucky for me, every other window on the bridge of the Pellu opened up inward. You could lock it to the overhead, a little latch. So I figured I'd just open the window next to it, lean out, and clean it. That way I wouldn't have to go back out on the catwalk. That thing is a nemesis. Well, the turd chasers are just... Sorry to all my HT friends. Welded a box for sound-powered telephones, conveniently located under the window that I needed to get out, so I could step up and lean out. Great plan. Well, I stepped up onto that box, leaned out the window, and I heard a horrible crack. Suddenly, my stomach headed back to my throat. Didn't make it that far, though. This was a short drop, about a foot and a half, before the windowsill caught my armpits. Well, that's when the chief walked back in. He was dismayed. He lamented that it took him a year and a half to get that box welded to the bulkhead, and it just got put on yesterday. But his disappointment filled him with a terrible resolve. And he said, "You will not leave this ship until you secure that box back to the bulkhead. I don't care who or how. Get it done. You will not leave the ship until it's done." Well, in a single breath, he had managed to transfer his anguish to me. And then he walked out. I wanted to go see Saving Private Ryan with my buddy Luna, and this put a serious kink in that wire. I stood there for a few minutes looking at that stupid box and at that cursed window, thinking about my options. I could drill 4 holes in the angle irons and then 4 matching holes in the back of that box. Then mount it with nuts and bolts. Too easy, right? Well, I had to go deep down into the bowels of the ship where nobody above the main deck wants to go. I got to the HT shop and asked if they had a drill that could cut through steel. Without saying anything and looking slightly annoyed, he turns around and hands me this gigantic machine that looked like it was probably built before World War II. It had a massive, 1.5 foot long drill bit. And he says to me, "This is Big Bertha. If she won't do it, nobody will." I wondered if he once knew a girl named Bertha. I didn't ask him, though. Well, I asked him for nuts and bolts that would fit the massive tunnel that this drill was about to bore. He handed me 4, and then he said he needed my ID for collateral so that I would bring Big Bertha home to him on time. You can't leave the ship if you don't have your ID. So basically, giving somebody your ID is like putting yourself on lockdown. I ran back up to the oh god level where the bridge was, thinking this was going to be quick work. I measured everything 3 times and marked it out. First, I drilled the holes in the box. It was like sticking your fingers in a... You don't even know what I was going to say. It was like sticking your finger in soft butter. I thought, this is great. Easier than I expected. I went to drill the corresponding holes in the angle irons. I had to really push. And I was at a weird angle that made it hard to push. Well, this close to the deck, I was basically laying on my stomach in the prone position. The second hole was harder. I think I was just tired of exerting pressure against the drill in the bulkhead, while also holding up this massive 30-pound drill. And then I got to the third hole. Yes. Hoyo numero 3. I sat up to exert more pressure. I was determined. The drill bit had bit into the steel. It just hadn't come out the other side yet. So I pressed harder. And that's when it happened. The drill bit caught. And instead of the bit turning at 8 million RPM, the drill turned, taking my hand, my arm, my whole self with it. I had to pull the wreckage of my hand out of Big Bertha's evil clutches. Big Bertha didn't care. Big Bertha was just fine. I looked down at my mangled hand, which was already swollen to twice the size and a deep shade of purple. I looked around the pilot house just to see if I was alone. I was. I screamed. And I hollered like a baby, getting all of their vaccinations at once. I was angry. Angry that Bertha wasn't sharing my pain. I kicked Big Bertha in anger. But to my dismay, the drill bit popped upwards and slashed me across my shin. Now I was holding my hand above my head and hobbling on one foot. Some sort of idiot. Bad juju. And that damn box still wasn't mounted, so I still had a task to complete. This was before sailors were treated like human beings. This was an era of do or die trying. And excuses were never accepted. So, over the next hour, I used books and helmets to make a jig that would hold that box in place while I screwed in the bolts to the 2 holes that I was able to drill. It hadn't given me any problems. I finally got finished. With one hand. What should have taken maybe 30 minutes took me almost 3 hours. Well, I ran down from the oh God level back into the pits of hell. Gave this man his bleeding drill back, got my ID, and I headed to medical. I went in with my hand behind my back. Excuse me. If I walked in here with a broken hand, would I have to stay on the ship all night? He looked up. Yeah, probably. That's what I thought. Thank you. I persevered. I took a couple Motrin. I was only 19 though, and we all know that young people don't feel pain like the rest of us. So Luna and I got to the theater and we both ordered popcorn and a drink. I grabbed the popcorn with my left hand, went to grab the drink with my right, but my useless meat hook just pushed it onto the floor. The cashier looked at my hand and looked repulsed. I think I managed to hit my hand on every row of seats on the way as we went in. You know, you never realize just how much you hit your hand against things or how much you need your hand until you don't have it anymore. The next day, the ship got underway. I showed up to my sea and anchor station on the bridge, and my chief says, "I didn't want holes drilled in the wall or the box." So I told him that he said he didn't care how. He just wanted it up. Then he saw my hand. "What the fuck happened to your hand?" I gave him a very short version of this story and he sent me down to medical. So they did an x-ray. Found that I had a spiral fracture in my 4th metacarpal. And it had shattered into more little shards than they could count. Well, the ship's surgeon, what a guy, swore that this was an injury associated with fighting. He put it in my medical record and said that I should be put on report for destruction of government property. I tried to explain, but he didn't want to listen. Hey, other me. Thanks. Where was I? Finally, my chief came down after seeing anchor detail and talked to the doctor and told him what happened, so he cleared. I spent the next 6 months in a blue cast. I had to learn how to do everything with my left hand. Everything. I became ambidextrous. A week or so later, it was steak and crab leg night because we were about to take the big blue D. You never think about it, but eating crab legs is a two-handed sport. I was having trouble getting into the shell. They're hard to crack with one hand. So I put a crab leg down my cast, and I used the fork to try to pry and crack it open. Well, unfortunately for me, crab leg went flying across the mess decks. Hit a Marine right in the face. He stood up, incredulous. "Who did that?" I looked at my friends because I totally expected them to cover for me. They pointed at me. That took some explaining. And that, kids, is how the USS Peleliu and all the other LHAs ended up with railing around the bridge catwalk. You're welcome to all you sailors who came after me. And now a toast. Never say it can get any worse. The fates will find a way. Cheers. Not bad for what's thrown together.
What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Early in the morning. Way, hey, and up she rises. Way, hey, and up she rises. Way, hey, and up she rises. Early in the morning. Put him in the longboat until he's sober. Put him in the longboat until he's sober. Put him in the longboat until he's sober.
I don't know if I have enough room for another one of those. Luckily, I had that hiding. I guess we'll go with whiskey sour. Thanks, myself. Here, take that. You're welcome to all you bastards that came after me. Cheers, assholes. The next, I became ambidextrous. Ambidextrous. I became ambidextrous. I looked at my friends because I'm gonna drink until I die. I'm gonna laugh or else I'll cry. Before this number's up, I'm gonna drain this cup. I'm gonna drink until I die. I will have fun and I'll imbibe. Like the dude, I will abide. You can piss on my rug, I still won't give a fuck. I'm gonna drink until I die. Your bar or my bar doesn't matter as long as there's booze. I'll stay sober when it's required, but until then, have some rum, good old chum, or cheap vodka if you're a bum. Go get your cocktail cup so we can fill it up. We're gonna drink until I die. your bar or my bar. Does not matter as long as there's booze. I'll stay sober when it's required. But until then, go have another, have some rum, Joe Chum, or cheap vodka if you're a bum. Go get your cocktail cup so we can fill it up. We're gonna drink, 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 drink until I die.